And we're live. Hello, Fems. Happy Wednesday. I am Violet Dayal. I'm the founder of FemCity, and you're joining me today for our Business for Your Soul. It is our series that we do every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And we have a panelist group, but the technology has been not in our favor today, so we keep dropping. So we might have some other Fems that hop on as part of our panelist group. So we're excited. Hopefully they will join us. But for the time being, Shelly and I are going to get things going. We know you guys are really busy. And today we're going to talk about how to be unstoppable without burning out. We know our Fems are multifaceted. They're great multitaskers. They are able to accomplish anything that they set their mind to and their hearts to. But the burnout factor is something that's very, very real. And so we're going to talk about that today. With me is one of our FemCity Global members and a Miami Fem also, Shelly Grace. Shelly, share a little bit about your background and what makes you an expert in this topic.
Well, I was for 22 years a school principal in a very large school. I managed 150 employees, and at the same time, I was a mom of 2 kids at home. And because that wasn't enough, I decided to write a book to help parents on their school journey of school choice, and it turned into a 6-book series. And I ended up also being a guest expert on Fox National News, all as I was doing all of this stuff. And I was in a demanding marriage. So I know what unstoppable and burnout is.
Yes, absolutely. And Candace, by the way, who's supposed to be on with us, she just messaged me, which is what I was texting her back to tell her to join us whenever she can. Her Wi-Fi just crashed. Again, Mercury retrograde, as you're sharing. Yes. So one thing I think a lot of Fems might be asking is that, how do they know that they are burned out? I went through 2 segments of burned out. One time, many, many years ago, I had only 1 child at the time. I was working in real estate, and I remember working every single weekend, every single day for about a year and a half. And I remember I knew I was burned out, and this is extremely extreme. Someone came into my office to buy a house, and I couldn't get myself to get up from the chair. I literally gave the lead to somebody else. I was like, you know what, I gave the lead to another fellow agent. I was exhausted, and it took me probably another year to recover. I really had burned myself to the ground. I could care less about anything. I was just like, I just cannot function anymore. That was the first time. And then the second time, which I talk more about because it was more recent, 2009, 2010, sitting on 6 different boards, starting FemCity, running my own PR firm, having the 3 kids, 3 different schools. Right. I was just at the bottom. I mean, I was pre-diabetic, high blood pressure, cholesterol, anxiety. My eye was perpetually twitching. I think we've all had that before. Yes. Yes. That's my sign, but so the signs don't have to be so extreme. Perhaps the signs could be more mild. So what are some signs that you feel would be great to share with Fems that might be wondering if they're approaching burnout, or perhaps they're at that burnout state already?
Well, one of the telltale signs, I love the eye twitching because I think that happens to all of us, right? It's like that birthday party's coming up and you haven't even ordered the cake and it's tomorrow, right? Your eye's like...
And it just keeps moving, and you keep asking, do you see that? Do you see that? I don't see anything. I'm like, but it's moving so much. My eye is actually hurting. So
I know, it's so true. But to me, one of the telltale signs that I really know that I'm burning out is the morning. Like, how do you get up in the morning? Like when you just know, because we all just jump out of bed because you got so much going on, but your body's like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to get out of bed. So there's a couple of things that are telltale signs, and we do need to plug into how we feel. And what I used to do when I was doing 10 different things, and also I was on a board at the time, it was just insane. You got to learn how to say no, which is what I eventually did. But one of the things that I would do is I would, you take emergency, you do all this stuff, but I would try and just maybe go to sleep earlier if you can. I mean, you have to catch up on your sleep. That's the biggest thing when we're just exhausted. Because let's face it, what's the first thing that unfortunately goes? Our sleep. Right. And that's really bad to burn out your adrenals. Yeah. But it's just, I would definitely overcompensate with vitamins. I love Emergency, those little packets, because they really give you a nice boost, and they're all, homeopathic, organic. And just,
I think the founder was a teacher, wasn't she?
She was a teacher. Yes, she was a teacher. So who knows, right? Like teachers know best because you're always going. But the other thing that I learned too along the way was busy women are always, people always ask you to do stuff because they know you're going to get it done and you're responsible. So and this happened to me 2 years ago when I kind of relaunched myself and I was just exhausted and drained. My kids are grown now, so they're not little like they used to be. But I started saying no, and it really hurt me like physically because I just didn't want to say no. But I knew that to move forward and not to get burned out in the direction that I wanted to go, I could no longer sit on certain boards because it was just taking a lot of my energy. So I think time and energy is something that femmes need to look into. Your family's there and your kids and all the extracurricular activities. But sometimes I think that we give so much of ourselves to other things that maybe, it's time to step down and give a chance to someone else. It doesn't mean that you have to say goodbye. You can still be on the sidelines, but not take that, that active responsibility, which is another added drain.
Absolutely. And I think that I think that's that right there, Shelly, is the golden nugget of advice, is that saying no. I was laughing because years ago we did our FemCity retreat in Tuscany many years ago. And we did a whole entire exercise on saying no.
Yeah.
So part of the exercise was just like saying no and then just holding it there, not adding anything to it, just saying no and holding it. And then I did a YouTube video a couple years, maybe like 2 years ago, on 3 ways to say no. Because again, femmes are like, yeah, I know I need to say no, but I really don't know how to say no. So saying no, but then you can follow up by saying, no, thank you for this opportunity. It doesn't align with what I'm focused on right now, but maybe we can reconnect. And then the other option is to say no to the opportunity and then say, but I do know someone who would be a great fit. Because when we say yes to opportunities that don't align or not things that we can actually really do comfortably, with our time and what we have on our plate already, it is taking away the opportunity from someone else who actually may have had the time to do that. So if you're struggling with saying no, you can say, I say no all the time now. I actually find not enjoyment with it, but I also, I'm so focused on where I'm going. But I often say, I can't do that right now, but I know someone who'd be great at that. May I introduce you? Because it makes you look like a problem solver or solution. And then also you're going to do somebody else.
I do like that, because this is what we also need to know, that we're on our journey, and sometimes there's women that we've mentored or that know us that want to be where we are. And that's a great way of allowing someone to step kind of in your shoes or in your role.
Yeah.
You also align with where you're going, and you don't feel that guilt. Because I know that I felt so guilty when I had to step down. I made the choice of stepping down an executive board. That was a really big deal, but I just couldn't. It was zapping me so much, because it was an extra 15 hours a week, which sometimes, it's exactly. It was a part-time job, and I love volunteering and I love giving back to my community. But at the time I was building out my business, and I just needed those 15 hours just to do everything that we do, to get out there.
Yeah.
The other thing I also wanted to say, because a lot of times when we're busy and we're doing all these things, we're like super women, right? The other thing that I know that I've also had a problem with, Violet, that I love that you always do when we have our calls, is ask. We have to ask people to help us. We have to ask people, to help us, like with a carpool, or, ask is such a strong word. Yes. And people are there to help. But the problem is that sometimes we feel we've got to do it all as women.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, our programming very well, but we incorporate that. And I know it makes femmes very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. In our programming, for those that don't know, in our programming, we do a component where you share and ask. And some femmes really struggle with that. Their first time, they're like, I don't really know what to ask for, which I always feel like it's a really great exercise to do then. Think about what you really need. Think about, what you need and who can help you. And then do the ask. Reach out and say, you know what, I'm really struggling with this. Could you help me? Because it brings joy to other people. And perhaps that's their superhero talent, and they're able to help you we all have passion, we all have purpose, we all have, these alignments that we're always looking to stay on task with. And saying no, I think is a great, I keep going back to that, saying no and then asking for help. I think those are the two things, Shelly, from what you've shared that really resonate with me. Any other tips that you have for femmes that are looking to really keep on going, that they're on a good path? I know 2021 has been really great for so many femmes in our community, and they don't want to be like me with high blood pressure and pre-diabetes and all that stuff. They want to catch it before. What are some other tips that you can share with them to help to prevent that burnout?
I think a couple of things is we do need to watch what we're eating and how we're eating, because a lot of us are working more from home now than before, and we might not be so physically active. So that's really important. I know that I've cut back a lot. Like I really don't have, 3 or 4 meals a day anymore. I kind of stagger because my calorie intake doesn't need to be as much as it used to be, because I'm working more out of my house. I try and I swim now. So I try and swim every morning, at least for 30 minutes. That's my exercise of choice, because going to the gym doesn't work out for me anymore because of my schedule. Right. But eating healthy, working out, staying fit, and definitely staying away from negative people and drama-ramas, because, and that goes with hey, Candace, that goes with the part of saying no and asking. Yeah. I mean, it's all like a whole synergy of tools that we've got to be strong and align with our beliefs, our values, our purpose, and our soul. And once we do that and we understand, and if you're feeling guilty, just think about the fact of how you feel when you don't say no, and it's your drama friend, or family member, and it just totally drains you. So it's important.
Totally. And Tammy says, so good and so true. And we're so happy Candace is back. Candace is back on the panel. So we're so excited. Candace, Mercury retrograde, we were talking about. So just, I'm just happy that you're here.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, last week I had another group presentation that I was doing, and a transformer blew down the house and knocked me out. So it's just weird. God. Like, on another, that was on a Tuesday. This is a Wednesday. So, I got a little bit further in the week. So
watch out for next Thursday.
Right.
Light some candles for sure. So Candace is joining us on the panel. She's one of our FemCity Global members as well, from Albuquerque. And Candace, what we're talking about is how to avoid that burnout. And so some of the things that we talked about were saying no, to those things that don't align with you anymore. Ways to say no. We kind of shared ways that you can say no gracefully and positively, and makes you look good still. We also talked about the energies. So we were just starting to talk about the energies, and then you came up, one of our spiritual gurus for the program. So that was really perfect. What are some of the thoughts or advice that you can give for femmes that are really looking at avoiding burnout? And specifically, I know you work a lot with energies. Avoiding that energy pattern. I know that when I've removed people that drain me in my life, I have soared. So I know that. What are your thoughts, Candace?
I think that's just it. This is a really different time for people. Mm-hmm. And the things that you might have been able to tolerate even 6 months ago, you might not be able to tolerate today. So with that, being willing to understand how your energy works, because everybody's focus is always on like outside of us, but being able to understand, this feels really good to me right now. When I think about doing this thing, I suddenly start to feel tired or heavy, which is a no, you don't want to do it. Also, irritation. So if the way to avoid burnout is to not get burnt out in the first place, and people, it happens kind of slowly, and then you're in the pit and in the hole. And so if you find that you're getting irritated all the time, that means there's something that you're doing consistently that you're not in alignment with. You don't like it. And it might be something simple as you just need more breaks or more space or more time. I'm a big proponent of, on Instagram, I follow this account called the Nap Ministry, NAP, like nap, taking a sleep. And their whole big deal is they want you to take naps. They don't want you to do anything. They're not the boss of you. But they suggest, like, why don't we just take naps during the day? And they've got science behind it to rest, do more conscious and on purpose rest, because when you rest, you start to hear yourself more clearly than when you're trying to jump into grind mode or even fix it mode. And I find that a lot of what's happening to people right now is things are so uncertain and folks are really looking for clarity. And so they're really diving 100 miles an hour into trying to fix something. And it's like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's not over yet. So it's, having the willingness to not have the answers and just be with yourself is a huge, important step. And then again, what's repeating is know that normally every day of the week, you might be able to hang out with a certain friend or in a certain group or be on social media, but there are certain days or certain times of day when you just can't. And if you're really present and paying attention within your body, you're going to get those hits. It's going to feel heavy or making you tired or making you already pissed off and rolling your eyes. And then I think it's interesting too, for me, I've had to cut out a lot of social media. So I'm not nearly on it as much as I was. And like all social media, at first I tried let me like block or unfollow people I don't agree with or I'm not in alignment with. And it's just being an intuitive. And I feel like everyone has this to a degree. If you log on Facebook and just start feeling like that weird, it hits me full frontal. Like, I can feel waves of angst and despair, and it makes my stomach turn. And it's like, this is not for me. So I've had to really be careful about what apps I'm on and looking at. And similar with news, I've had to go back to not watching very much news and hope that there's not a zombie apocalypse, or that I'll look at it the day that it happens, because that stuff is so draining. And right now, fear sells. And so that's a lot of what you see and what the algorithm shows you is people worried and panicking and pissed off and upset and things not working out. And you have to be very mindful of what you keep exposing yourself to, because we're like sensitive little sponges. We'll just suck it up and then look at the world through that fear lens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had never thought of that, Candace, as someone, as yourself, as an intuitive and one of our spiritual advisors on the global program. I hadn't thought of what you guys must feel as you go through the social media feeds, because you guys are more connected to energy and the way people are showing up. I never even thought of like how draining that would be. And I would say perhaps if people are listening or watching and they themselves are not intuitives, but they might be more empathic, meaning that they capture the energy of things a little bit more sensitively than not average, but other people. I hadn't even thought of that. I during the election, I stopped watching the news and I started reading the news instead. I found that when I was reading the news, I was reading it with no emotion. It was more factually, like it was just easier for me to read, right, and more calming for me, because there was it was just easier for me to do it. And so I love that those tips for those that really struggle. I mean, I try to get off social media on the weekends. I try not to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm trying to, not even through the email. Like I really just want to live and be present. And I know I could probably, they would say, have more followers or make more money because if I'm on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but that's my time to just be and be present. So it's not for me. It hasn't been for me.
Right.
Love that. And so some love came through. Tammy says, yes, listen to your body and naps are delicious. And then Shoshana said, my dad always tells me the importance of protecting yourself. You don't always have to pick up everyone's energy. That can be exhausting.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you said something so important, Candace. And before you got on, Violet and I were talking about saying no and all the demands that sometimes we as women put because we feel that guilt and we've got to be like super mom, right? Or superwoman. And one of the telltale signs, and I want to circle back to what Violet had asked me, when you're feeling that is you feel it in your body. It's like you're doing something, but it feels like if you're walking through mud, you can't, because it's energy and it feels heavy. And that's one of the biggest telltale signs to stop and plug into yourself, because you might have to say no to that person or that activity or that job or something that you're doing, because it will hurt you in the end.
Right. And if you find yourself getting just irritated at the smallest little thing and you're like, why am I so upset? It's because there's some sort of boundary across that's happening. And it's not that other people are trying to be intentional, or it's not like a jerk thing where someone's being rude or mean. It could be you just don't have the space and the energy for that today, right now. Like you could totally do it if you rested, ate something, you could pick it up tomorrow. But in the moment, you might find yourself feeling frazzled and just really short. And rather than doing all this introspection about like what's wrong with me or why are these people idiots, it's like, oh, what is it that I actually need right now, without putting, and I like what you just said, because it's usually us who's really harsh with ourselves about no, I can do more. I should have this figured out. I need to grind. If I was really serious about this, I would just go, 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 go. And then it just, everything gets, something that happens to me personally a lot is I go into like a fog where if I try to push and I don't need to, and I'm starting to like shut down and be drained, and it'll just take longer. Like something that should take me 15 minutes is like 3 hours. And then at the end, I'm still not quite sure what I did. Or if I do a lot of writing for my business and also personally, and then things just stop making sense and the sentences aren't coming together, like brain fog or something happens. And I know, oh, I'm burning out actively right here. Like, let me just stop and not try to push this harder.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking 2020. I know we've had conversations. Candace was on our panel for a panel discussion that we had about 2020 and why things happened the way that they did. And one thing I did in 2020 that makes me remember this, hearing you guys share, is that instead of that word grind, I scratched it out and put grace instead. And that for me was 2020, is just like that grind, that, go out and grind and hustle and, all that stuff, like be that boss. And, it no longer was fitting. And I think for so many people is just to listen to your body. I mean, I just told my 21-year-old, she's like, I don't know why I'm tired today. I'm like, you know what, just give yourself grace. It's been a really stressful week. Sometimes we heal, days after, just, like take it in stride. But my former self would have been like, you get in there and just grind and just, until you collapse. And, that would have been the old Violet, the outdated Violet. And I think there's another comment that came through. My issue is time. How do I structure my day to have time to sleep, make nutritious meals, exercise, run my nonprofit, run my new business, clean my house, do laundry, and go through IVF to have a baby? I feel sad and resentful a lot. Maybe I have burnout, but I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel and can't get off. That is burnout.
That is burnout. It's get off the hamster wheel. So do you really have to do laundry? A lot of people, and you might have to, if you have to actually be leaving your house. Like I'm getting dressed from the waist up these days, and it's nice. I love it. So, I mean, I've like got my pajamas on the bottom, so I'm not like naked here. That'd be gross. But do you have to do all of those things? You listed so many things. And everyone's situation is different, so, and I respect that, but where can you not do something? Do you have to exercise? That might be the thing that is keeping you in the world, the thing that frees your mind and is that grounds you, in which case, yes, keep doing it. But if it's just on your list of, this is what I need to do to be a good entrepreneur or be a good person, why are you doing it? It would be, you've got to make the choice, even though it's scary, that part of your mind that says, no, we have to do all of these things, to say, I don't have the space for this. What is essential for you and what can you let go of for right now? Not forever. It's not laziness, but it's like, oh, I need to put something down for now and I will come back to it later. What's popping in my mind is one of my clients was feeling super burnt out, and the solution was for her, instead of cooking dinner for her, she's a single mom and has like a very demanding job. And it was like, where can you like get someone else to walk the dog? And where can you buy, she didn't want to do like the home delivery kits. She just goes out to a store and they're like really nice pre-made meals where she can just pop them in. And that's like one less thing that she has to do. And she really likes certain types of health food shakes, and she can make them, but she had to just spend the extra money, and everyone's situation is different. So, realistically, not everyone's going to be able to do that, but it was for her peace of mind. She had to, instead of her being the one to do all of these things. And that's where it's recognizing it. Emotional burnout, mental burnout is just the same as if there was a physical thing that was wrong with your body. And if we would take it more seriously, like if you broke your leg, you wouldn't be like, well, let me go jogging and let me try to do all these things. It would be expected of, okay, I need to take some rest. I need to work things a little bit differently right now. And I feel like that's the same mindset we should have when it comes to, oh, I'm burning out. But everything you listed, that's burnout 101. If you're resentful in the hamster wheel, it never ends. It's never going to change. You can't see a way out of it. It's because you're not resting enough, where you're not getting the guidance in the inside of, hey, this is the smarter, better way we could do this.
Yeah, she said already, she said, yes, obligations are huge, or the feeling of obligation, which I think is huge right there. And she said, that's helpful. Thank you. I remember when I first started having my batch of kids, I had all this pressure on myself. Nobody else cared, but but I was like Swifting. Remember when Swiffer came out? It was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna save my life. I was Swifting the house every night, and I was like wiping every morning with Clorox wipes. And I was like, why? Like, I just put so much pressure on myself. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do that once a week. Like, no one cares. And I cheated, like you said, about the nutritious meals. I was the queen of getting tofu hot dogs from Whole Foods. This was 27 years ago. It wasn't called Whole Foods back in Raleigh, North Carolina. It was called Wellspring before Whole Foods bought them. But anyway, I was the queen of getting boxed macaroni and cheese and like chicken nuggets that were frozen. And I would make it look absolutely beautiful, but it was all like 2 steps. But I was making things in the crock pot, and I was like spending so much time making these. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I need to become more efficient, but you're so burned out that you cannot see clearly. Like you're saying, like you are so in that hamster wheel, just every day being robotic, that you don't see a way out. It is so I totally feel for her for sure.
And something else that she mentioned, I guess she's an entrepreneur, and it's so important to allow yourself, if you can't, a whole day, a half. I always take Sundays off. I do not work on Sundays.
Yeah.
I mean, not even Saturdays sometimes, but sometimes you have to. But it's so important just to chunk out like half a day of you time alone. Because once you do and you come back to your work, your entrepreneurial journey, you're going to be so much more productive because you're exhausted. And Violet and Candace are right. All you're doing is just, you don't see a way out. And the only way of getting out is to step aside and see it from a different angle. And then you'll be able to make some changes.
Yeah.
I'm getting chills, Shell. That was amazing. Like, yes, everything you said.
Yeah. That's also very stressful. IVF is incredibly stressful for all my friends that went through it. So give yourself extra grace on that. It is definitely a process that emotionally is has its own draining issues as well. So final advice, Shelly, that you have, and how can femmes find you to learn more about the work you're doing?
Final advice is to always listen to yourself and not what other people are saying. Because a lot of times as women, we have to be the superheroes of our life. And what Violet and Candace said is true. You know, we don't have to wipe down the counters every day. I mean, just think about what you can do that no one's going to know. That's going to serve you. Your kids are going to be fine if they eat, you know, chicken nuggets. It's okay. You don't have to have a fine cooked meal on the table, but it's just putting yourself first, which we never do. And listening to your body. And it's so important to listen to how you're feeling, because if you don't, that's when you get really sick. So they can find me on FemCity. They can find me at ShellyGrace.com. And I'm trying to be more active with the group, but this is what I do. And I also have my business that I help people align with themselves and use the 4 power archetypes that hold us back. And I teach energy work in a different way and more like corporate, because that's the way that I know it. But yeah, just here to help anybody that needs a good piece of advice or just to listen to.
Thank you, Shelly. Thank you. And she had an aha moment. Yes, days off. They haven't happened recently. And to know it will be more effective if I take time to recover. Thank you, ladies. Absolutely. You know what? Take off 2 days. And I bet you, and come back and let us know. I bet you're going to feel so much better. That's the misconception also, that you have to hustle. You have to grind. You have to feel like you're about to collapse. That really means you're successful. That really means that you are taking your business seriously. But that is totally false. So anyway, Candace, final advice, and then how can femmes find you to learn more?
I mean, I just ditto everything Shell said. I feel like it is so important in the moments. We find ourselves in the moment. So when you're feeling frazzled and burnt out and feeling stuck, if you are willing to take the time to really understand, this is how I feel, and this is what's going on in my body, to start being present, because that's where the change and the power happens, is in the moment. But if we just keep going, it zips right past. And in the moment is when you'll get that hit or that insight or that flash of inspiration or that clarity that you need. Like, I really just, and it's so funny how people will just say, like, I wish I could just take a nap right now. And then they just keep working when it just came out of your mouth intuitively, like your body just responded and told you, this is what I need. And I feel like finding those moments where you can really connect with what it is that you really want in that moment, what you don't want, what you don't like, what you do like in the moment. And you don't have to connect to a solution. You don't have to solve or fix yourself. It's just to be present. And then these other awarenesses will open up, and that can be hard to do. But that's just a long-winded way of trust yourself, trust everything about yourself, trust the good and the bad and the uncomfortable, really be willing to know who you are. And then you will be giving these small little insights that will keep you out of burnout if you're willing to like believe it, you know? And so the way that I help people is I teach them how to use their intuition to create whatever results they want for themselves, their clients, and their communities. And I go over all about what that means, like really unfolding and trusting yourself with steps other than like journaling and thinking positive. It's like, no, like here is the work so you can get your intuitive hits and hear your intuitive voice. You can find me on CandiceThomasIntuitive.com. And I've also started on Clubhouse, and I'm just Candice. I actually got my name on Clubhouse, Candice Thomas. I'm so excited. And I'm going to be doing some talks. Usually right now, I'm scheduling them for Sundays. And this week, I'll just be talking about how to be a speaker. So for folks who don't want to do social media, I have found for me personally, and like I'm just intuitive folks that are out there, being on a platform like this is so helpful and usually brings me clients and business. And it's so much easier than having to like post every day or send a newsletter every week or something or every day. And so I'll be talking about that this Sunday on Clubhouse. But anyway, that's how you can get a hold of me.
Love it. Oh, I look forward to that. I think I'm following you on Clubhouse already, but I will follow. I will try to find what you're doing on Sunday and listen in. And then Tammy, another global femme, perfect way to end the conversation today. No hustle culture, live life with intention. And then she added a heart shape. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today. And for those that are watching later on, we hope that this helps you, whether if you're watching now or later on, we hope this helps you. And feel free to connect with our panelists. You can reach out to them. They're here to help you. We're all here to help you. And keep us in the loop. Let us know how it goes. Let us know how you're saying no and you're resting and you're adding more grace in your life. To learn more about FemCity, head over to FemCity.com. We invite you to try out FemCity for free for 30 days. And we will see you guys next Wednesday. Panelists, stay on so I can take a picture. Bye.
Okay.